Hi, team. I'm Fitz Koehler from fitzness.com, and welcome to the Fitzness Show. Today, I have an incredible guest who is one of those athletes that has really hit the pinnacle of her sport, and it's a very popular sport, which always makes me a little extra impressed. You know, it's one thing to be the best full contact kickboxer, like I was, but there really aren't a whole lot of people who want to do full contact kickboxing. So when you're a really great athlete in a pool that's pretty small, it's only semi-impressive. But when you're an athlete that's in a very popular sport that lots of people want to take part in, then we know you're serious business. So my guest today is Laura Wilkinson, and she's an American treasure on the diving board. She is a diver who's won world championships, Goodwill Games. She's a champion, NCAA champion, which part of me feels like is probably one of the stiffest competitions you can be a part of, but she'll tell us that. She's a 3-time Olympian, and she's making an effort to go back to the Olympic Games and beat Dara Torres's record as the oldest American to medal in the Olympic Games. And it's so silly that she's going as the oldest because will only be 43, but she has won a gold medal in the Olympics, which again is very fancy. I'm sure she's wearing it right now. But without further ado, let me introduce you to Laura Wilkinson. Hi.
Hi, I'm sorry to disappoint. I don't have my medal on right now.
Not wearing it.
I'm underdressed.
And you're right out of the pool, correct?
Right out of the pool. I've got that nice wet look going on for you.
Oh, so listen, we've got lots of real deal fitness and sports stuff to talk about, but we had a brief conversation before we got started, and you were telling me that you have hair that comes around to your biceps. Mm-hmm. And how do you manage the hair every day? Because it's a real deterrent for many of us to get in and out of the pool.
Yeah, well, a lot of times I just throw it up in a bun and I pretend that it's clean when it's not. But I mean, I try, if I don't wash it right out of workout, it doesn't get washed. So I have to immediately wash it right away. But there's a lot of girls who put conditioner in it before they get their hair wet and then put a swim cap on during practice. I kind of feel like it's a little too late for me. I only have so much time left, but it really has worked and helped their hair grow through all the chlorination.
Okay. That's good pointers. And yeah, I tend to go green really quickly, but it's so worth it because, I mean, I know you're a diver, not a swimmer, and there's a difference, but you do some swimming, I'm guessing, correct?
I doggy paddle to the side. That's about the extent of my swimming.
It is such a good workout. And I just, I know you are not doing the pool gently, but for the rest of us, when I've had a pregnancy or an injury or cancer nonsense, the pool was just this wonderful, gentle place. So you're the opposite. You hit the pool with great force. So rundown for folks who don't understand diving.
Yeah, so I dive. There's the lower 3-meter springboards. Those are the boards that like move, that you bounce off of almost like a trampoline. And then I'm off the really high 10-meter platform. So it's about 33 feet, and you hit the water at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. So, everybody's like, oh, it's only water, but it feels like a brick wall when you hit it at that force. And the more straight in you are, like the better entry that you get, the more it actually hurts. It's interesting. Yeah, for real. So if you're really sore after a workout, you're like, it's a good day. It's a really good day.
Wow. So I remember diving off, it might've been at a water park at SeaWorld or something like that, but dove in off of what's way lower than you and felt like I got a concussion. And I thought, well, that's because I did it wrong.
There's a way we grab our hands. So you want to put one hand over the other like this, and then you extend, and there's like a timing where you kind of move your wrists and you displace the water so that your body can go in and you like suck the splash down with you. So there's a timing thing, and that actually protects your head. Yeah.
And then what's it like to go up there? I'm guessing you're used to it now, but that's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah. And what's really funny is a lot of platform divers are scared of heights. Like, it's not unusual, but because we're acrobatic athletes and we know we'll be good at it, like we go anyway. So fear is a very big thing in my sport. Like, we're really used to dealing with that. So, and it does get better. Like, the more you do, you get more comfortable, but there's always that little bit of anxiety because you're doing something very dangerous. But I think it's really important because it kind of forces you to try to do the right actions because you know what could happen if you don't. If you get too comfortable, that can actually be a little bit dangerous.
Yeah. And it's not just the fear of hitting the water, but it's fear of hitting the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both, for sure.
Have you done that?
I mean, I've only hit like fingers and toes. Let's knock on some wood. I broke 3 bones in my foot off of a dry land training platform. So yeah, I mean, I've had a number of things. I've seen some really bad accidents, but honestly, it's really, really rare. And generally, you start to see somebody kind of creeping in, like getting closer slowly. So the coach can usually kind of correct that and keep them safe. But every once in a while, you know, kind of freak accidents happen. But a lot of those people that I've seen have the bad accidents, though, have come back and done amazing things and gotten through that. And like one of my teammates, Nancy Lee Foster, she was 14 and she hit her face on the board. And she actually came back and became an Olympian in 2008 in that same event. So like just the coolest comeback story in my mind.
Well, you have a pretty interesting story. Didn't you compete with a broken foot when you won gold?
Yeah. So in 2000, I actually broke my foot in 3 places in dry land training. We were actually in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we were doing kind of, you know, flips onto mats, like a typical warm up. And I came out of one somersault a little early and I hit like both the balls of my feet on the wooden block that I was jumping off of. And my coach took me to the emergency room and they told me it would hurt more and be more swollen if it was broken. So he just gave me crutches and sent me on my way. And I was in excruciating pain for the rest of the week that we were there. But when I got home, my doctor x-rayed it and kind of came in the room like teary-eyed, like maybe I could have reset this when I saw it. But like you have, you know, the metatarsals in your feet are much like the bones in your hand. And I broke the middle 3 right where the knuckles are. And the middle one actually slid underneath. And within just that week had calcified to the 2 bones next to it, forming what they called a bone bridge. So it was like standing on a rock. And she said that we were going to have to re-break it, pin it all back together. And there was just no time. It was 3 months before Olympic trials. So we decided to cast it the way that it was and hope that it heals well to walk on. And so that's, that was kind of the way I walked into Olympic trials and the Olympic Games. It was, you know, technically healed, but I still had a bone stuck underneath my foot and I was in a lot of pain.
Wow. And then, so where were the Olympic Games in 2000?
Sydney, Australia.
Yeah. What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, I love it when you go to a foreign country and they speak your language. So it just makes things a little bit easier. And they have those great accents. I had been to Australia a few times and always loved it. And so it was just a very comfortable environment. But obviously, it was my first Olympic Games. So everything to me, I mean, my eyeballs were like this big, like at opening ceremonies and seeing the torch lit. Like I was just soaking up everything Olympics that I could. It was an amazing experience.
And how many days between you arriving and the opening ceremonies?
Good question. So we were there for about a month. So I think we were probably there a couple of weeks, week and a half to 2 weeks before the opening ceremonies. Okay. And then we were fortunate there after the opening ceremonies, we actually went to a little training trip in Melbourne for a few days to kind of get out of the craziness in the village. And then we came back and competed. So yeah, the whole trip, we were probably there for a little over a month.
And then you had, so opening ceremonies, and then there's 4 or 5 days until you compete.
Well, I actually compete toward the end. Platform diving is usually the last couple of days of the Olympic Games. I think in Sydney, though, I was one of the first diving events, but we were definitely the second week because the Olympic Games are 16 days long. And I think I was maybe the first or second event at the Olympics. But we were, of the diving, I'm sorry, but like the second week of the Olympics was after all the swimming was done and everything.
So I'm guessing you didn't have too much time for shenanigans in the Olympic Village.
No, I try to stay away from all the shenanigans.
I don't know why. It sounds like a really good time.
I don't know. I've kind of stayed out of that. I don't want to be dragged in.
Okay, all right.
The Olympics are what the Olympics are.
And then you show up, you compete, and you take home gold. What's that experience like? Because that's an iconic thing that millions wish for and would never even come close to having that.
It was, I mean, the whole thing was surreal. I remember there being a really big gap. We had a prelims one day, and then the next day were our semifinal rounds in the morning. And then we had this really long break, like 7 or 8 hours before our finals at night. And I remember I just couldn't rest. It was just like the Olympic finals are coming, you know, and I was trying to like calm down. And I remember just sitting out in this grassy area, like staring at the Olympic torch. I could see it from like not too far from where we were living in the village, and just journaling all these things and processing it all and kind of letting all of the things I was scared of and hopeful for, just kind of thinking about all of it and then like letting it go and just getting excited for what was coming. You know, yeah, I kind of remember the build up to it, like almost more. And the meet itself was kind of crazy. Like every round I felt like was a bit wild, you know, but breaking my foot and going through all this stuff I had to go through just to get there really helped me mentally prepare for the craziness that ended up being the Olympics. Because something happens at the Olympics. Like you have to expect the unexpected. Like weird stuff happens there, fluky stuff happens, and you have to be ready to just roll with the punches and, you know, like swerve and dip and glide and zig and zag and do whatever you have to do on the day of your event. So yeah, it was a wild ride. I'm really glad we have it on video because it kind of almost feels dreamlike a little bit, like looking back at it. So I'm glad we have a video to know that it was real and it really happened.
Yeah, I bet so. So you dive perfectly or close to perfectly, and you take home gold. How does your life change? What's the ceremony like, and what happens when you come home?
I mean, honestly, and this is kind of something I think people really need to understand is that your things around you may change, but you are the same person. So if you think a gold medal is magically going to change your problems or your personality or any issues that you're having, it's not. It's going to magnify everything. So if you're on the struggle bus going into that and you do really well, it's just going to make things harder. And I have seen gold medalists that have been humble and amazing and have walked out their victory in just awesome ways. And then I have seen people that have been bitter because they didn't get endorsements or it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And they thought they deserved so much more. And they have these terrible memories and they walked out the rest of their days in bitterness. And it's like, how can you experience that and walk away with those memories? So I think for anybody going after a big goal, like goals are awesome, like achieving them are awesome, but like that journey to get there and who you become in the process should be the part that you're embracing, and you should be enjoying that even more than like the accolades at the end, if that makes sense. So, I mean, I came back and like, I went on all these game shows, and there was I was on a Wheaties box. So I would walk into a grocery store and there'd be a wall of me. It was like being in a funhouse circus. It was like, what kind of mirror room am I in? It was so weird. But I mean, so there was like weird stuff like that. But then, at some point it's just done. And then you're like, all right, well, what do I do now? And how do I walk out who I am now? Well, I'm the same person. You just got to figure out what those next steps are. But there's this big thing, and a lot of Olympians talk about it. Some who've been I talked to my friend Marielle Zagunis. She's been to 4 Olympic Games, and she didn't even realize this is what she was going through. But there's this kind of post-Olympic blues is what we tend to call it, where after the Olympics, you've got your whole life or 4 years or whatever it is, a build up to this monumental point. And whether you win or lose, there's this letdown of all the adrenaline, all the intensity, all the work, everything. And then it's just like, ugh, and you're trying to figure out what you do with the rest of your life. And that's a really hard thing to walk through. There was a documentary that Michael Phelps did actually called The Weight of Gold, and they addressed it in there a little bit too. And I just think it's really important to realize that like life is not over after these things. Like these are great things we're doing in our life, but we need more than just our sport to validate our self-worth. Like we are valuable, and we can do things not just because of our place in the podium or our time or our score or whatever that is. Like we are worth, like we have value because we are who we are, not just because of what we do.
Right. So your life is very well-rounded. You have, is it 4 children?
Yeah.
And you have kids from other countries. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have 2 biological kids and then 2 adopted. One is from China and one's from Ethiopia. And yeah, it was a really crazy up and down journey to get all of them, but they're all within 4 years. My oldest 2 are only 6 months apart. So, wow. I mean, they're really tight knit. It's been great. It's been crazy, but it's been awesome.
What are their age ranges now? Or what ages, I should say?
So 9, 9, 7, and 5.
Yeah. And so, wow. And thank you. And I have, my brother's adopted, and I think it's like the greatest.
Mine is too.
It's the greatest gift ever. I should have adopted myself, and you find other ways to give back. But thank you, number one. And how do you juggle 4 kids and preparing for Olympic Games?
I have a very great husband. There's no way I could do this on my own. He is just a gem. He has been with me through it all. We were dating at Sydney, so he has been there for like all of it. And he was a swimmer in college. He coached for a long time. He's actually back to coaching now. So he understands the journey. He understands my dreams. Sometimes I think he believes in me more than I believe in myself. So he's always there. He committed to this with me when we decided this is something we were going to go after. He's like, I'll work part-time. I'll be home with the kids while you train, and then I'll go coach when you're off. And so we do a lot of high-fiving, but yeah, it could not work without him for sure. He is the glue.
Well, a couple things. Is diving your profession as well? Is that how you earn a living? Do you have sponsors, or do you have to do a separate thing?
I do now. I've been really fortunate. I mean, at the beginning when I came back, that was not the case because like I hadn't competed in 9 years and I was trying to prove myself, but then we were having all these issues. So I came back in 2017 and I got second at nationals after just 6 months of being back, which was great. But then after that, we had all these issues trying to bring our fourth daughter home from Ethiopia. And so I didn't compete the next year. Then I found out I was going to have a 2-level cervical fusion in my neck. So then I was out the next year recovering. So trying to get a sponsor during this time was really difficult. But one of the beautiful things is I actually, with this 2-level cervical fusion, I had heard that this bone stimulator device, like there's this new technology where you could put this thing around you, and I don't even understand how it works, but I heard it can help your fusion heal faster. And so I was like, dude, sign me up. If there's something that could give me an edge and help me heal faster, like sign me up. So I wore this thing religiously. I mean, every single day, all my x-rays were like ahead of schedule. And I found out that this was an OrthoFix device and they saw me wearing it. And so we kind of connected and they actually sponsor me now. But the cool thing is they didn't just make this bone stimulator device that helped me get back there faster. It turns out they also made the titanium plate that's in my neck, and they made the stuff that helped inside like fuse better. So they have the most amazing technology, and I've gotten to talk to all their people that work there. I've gotten to go meet everybody, and it's just cool to see the people who made the things that put you back together. And not only are allowing me to be back in the pool training, but I was told I had to get this done just to be a mom because I was in danger of, like, if there was a small car accident, I could be a quadriplegic. My neck was really bad. So, you know, these people, all the work they've done in this technology, they probably don't often see the people who get this gift on the other side. And so now I can be a healthy mom of 4, and I can actually return to training and do all these things. And so they're not supporting me physically, but they're also supporting me as a sponsor right now too. So it's this beautiful journey and this cool connection that way.
That's incredible. So that's OrthoFix. She is powered by OrthoFix.
In every sense of the word.
Yeah, I get that. You know, it's interesting with, I just finished chemo and so forth, and so many people trash pharmaceutical companies. And I think, for the love of God, these people, this science, they engineered these products to save my life. I'd be underground right now if it weren't for the brilliance of the pharmaceutical companies. And, you know, they fail more than they succeed. So yeah, there's a monetary exchange for their success rate. But yeah, the scientists that are, you know, putting your neck back together, that's outstanding. And for folks who don't understand, a fusion means they basically, not glue, but they affix your vertebrae together. And that also limits range of motion. Do you have much of a limit?
I had lost some beforehand, so I feel like most of mine is pretty well back. It may be a little limited going back, but it's not much different than it was. Yeah, so I had 2 discs removed, and they put some things in between where those discs were, and that's what fuses all the bones together right there. So, but I have a really cool plate now, so I like to joke with people, like, if you get mad, don't punch me in the neck because you'll hurt yourself.
It's your plate. That's hilarious. All right, we have a question. Rudy Novotny. Rudy's actually my announcing partner. We were in Havasu together this weekend, yelling at and for people. Incredible career. How have you been able to maintain world-class Olympic form over such a long period of time?
That's a great question. I mean, it wasn't, everybody's like, oh, it's like riding a bike. Not exactly. You know, I was out for almost a decade, and I had gotten pregnant twice and, you know, brought 2 other kids home. So I wasn't really in shape when I got back. Like, it took me a while to get back in shape. And while I kind of started to remember quickly how the dives worked, I had to, I feel like, relearn a lot of things. I mean, it's kind of like riding a bike, but like a rusty bike that needed new tires and maybe some WD-40. And, you know, so there is some remembrance, but a lot of things that I had to fix. But there's a different side to me now where I still get nervous, but the things that I was afraid to change before, for some reason, I'm not scared to change now. I kind of feel like, well, I got nothing to lose at this point. So it's a weird, I don't know, my mind is very different than it was before, in a good way, I think.
Yeah, that's an impressive time span. I know there's things that I could do in my early 20s that I probably would be pretty lousy at right now. So how many hours a day do you spend training?
That definitely not as much as I used to. I mean, we used to work out 6 to 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. So it's definitely less. I go Monday to Friday from 8 to 11. So it's about 3 hours. But then on Tuesday and Thursday, I do a second practice on a lower level platform. So it's like another 3 hours. And then on Saturdays now we're driving to a platform to train like another 3 hour session there. So it's definitely less time. But I also don't have all the facilities right where I am, where we used to have it all in one building. Now I'm having to drive to all these different locations, go to at least 3 pools a week, which is a little crazy. But I'm trying to really be more more diligent about, mindset and recovery and the things that I need more now, where I bounced back so fast before. Now I really need to take recovery seriously, which is really hard for me. That's a big adjustment. But really focusing on my mindset too, and bringing that kind of back up to speed.
Now, what about strength training?
Yeah, well, this has been an interesting journey. I feel like every Olympic quad that I've done has been so different. I've done where we've had no strength training. I've done what the national team was doing. Then I threw that out the window. And at one point I did plyos and Pilates, and that's all I did. Well, this time it's been kind of a hodgepodge. I connected with a local weight trainer for our team, and he was great. I love the science behind it. I was getting really strong. I was lifting heavier and heavier, but I wasn't improving. Like I wasn't jumping higher. I wasn't spinning faster. Like I felt slow, even though I was getting stronger. And so what I kind of realized is I'm not like the other divers where they do a lot more springboard and they have to load the board down and be really strong to do that. I have to be more quick twitch, like jumping athletes, So I started looking at what are NBA athletes doing? What are people who have to jump really high? Like what are people who have to have a vertical? What are they doing? And so I kind of got into a whole different plyometric regime this year on my own. And my vertical's gone up. I feel so much better. Even on my slow days, I feel like I'm spinning easily and making everything much easier. So I kind of feel like I've just been an experiment this year, and that's been a lot of fun.
Now, you just had a bunch of great things. And I'm always trying to get people, you have to train sports specific. A runner doesn't need to do what a baseball player needs to do. You all have your special needs. And plyometrics, number one. Yay, because that's good for everybody. But how does your body change? You're a woman who wears a swimsuit for a living on massive stages. You do it damn well. Beauty's box. So, do you find your body changes? And of course, you've had some pregnancies in here. How do you control you?
Yeah, that's hard because in my 40s, I don't bounce back as fast in that way either. Like it used to be like, oh, you eat good for a week and then you feel great and you look great. And I'm like, yeah, I'll eat great for a week and I don't see any difference. So I feel like I have to be a lot more consistent with what I'm doing. So just really a lot of hydration and stuff too. And I'm not super strict on my eating. I've gone through eating disorders and have those issues too. So I try to find good balance and not like count on my calories, but really just kind of more heavy on protein, where that's been a struggle for me. I love carbs. I naturally go to carbs, but I've been trying to be more into protein, at least fill myself up with that first, and definitely hydrating a lot. But it takes a lot of time and consistency for me to see changes. So I have to be really diligent about my daily habits.
Good. And patience.
Yes. That's so hard.
And then do you stretch?
Oh yeah, we're big time stretching and abs. That's like our whole sport right there. Like we have to be flexible. We have to get in those tight positions, but we have to be able to like get in and out of them really quickly too. So the core is really important for that. And we have to stay tight, obviously going through the water. So we do tons and tons of core work, and that's not just abs, that's like your obliques, your back, like everything. So
Now I work with regular folks who are constantly struggling with the ask to exercise most days of the week. I'm like, well, an hour every day, that's so much. Well, and I always say, listen, some of our Olympians are training 6 to 8 hours every single day. The human body was made to move, but they fear a commitment to daily activity. What is your spin? What's your advice for the average Joe or Jane that really needs to take it up a notch just to be healthy?
Well, and I get that. And having gotten to be a normal person for a good decade there, it's hard if you're not in a consistent routine. It's hard to get back into that. And sometimes the first couple of weeks it sucks, because you're sore, it hurts, and you got to get through that. But if you can do it consistently for 2 weeks, you kind of get back into that routine and it feels better. But even if it's not some amazing hard workout, even if you're going for a long walk or a slow jog, or you're just, doing a shorter HIIT workout or something, like it doesn't always have to be long, but like just making sure that you're being consistent. And from there, you can keep adding on. I think consistency is more important than like the amount of time. You know what I mean? If you're consistently doing something productive, it's going to be good, and I've learned this has been really actually good with COVID is I tend to be very controlling of what I do, like, for my sport and what I need to get done. And when I had to start working out at my house and doing flips at my house, my kids were all up in my business and I was going crazy until finally I was like, the Olympics are not tomorrow. I need to let them be part of this process. And then it was so much fun and I still got stuff done. And now I like make sure that I'm doing my plyometrics at home because my kids like to join me. So and especially my 5-year-old, she has like the most endurance. She'll keep going. I'm doing rest in between and she's still going. She's still doing it, and she loves to be a part of it with me. And so it's been cool to be able to show them like what this does for you and how good it is for you. And it's nice to have your kids as part of the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's, a great attitude. And where some people say, I can't exercise because I have kids, you just show that you should exercise because you have kids and you have to keep up with them too. So with COVID delays, what has that done to your Olympic training?
Well, it was funny kind of at first when that happened. It was a relief they made a decision because when they were just kind of like, we don't know what we're doing, like that's stressful. But once they made a decision, it was like, okay, well now we just need a new game plan. And at first I was actually relieved, which I didn't think at 42, I'd be real happy for an extra year. But since I had just come back from my surgery, I had really only gotten 2 meets off right before the shutdown. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have all this time to heal. I'm going to have all this extra training time. I'm going to go into next year so much more confident. And then we haven't been able to get into a facility until just this past month. And so it was not what I expected, but it was actually really good for me. Yes, I've been able to heal more and I've been able to focus a lot more on the basics. And we did have a lower level platform that we could train off of. And being forced to do that has actually helped my confidence a lot. Because a lot of times we call them lead ups. So what we would do, if I do like a 3.5 somersault off the 10 meter, on the 5 meter, I would do like a 2.5. So it's the same actions, just maybe one less somersault. And they tend to be harder on the lower levels because you're trying to do more in less time. And those have gotten so much easier for me, where before I was just trying to rush right up to 10 meter. And so being forced to do some of these more basic skills for a longer period of time has actually helped me a lot. So again, it's like every time you have these challenges, we get frustrated because we can't operate the way we want to, or we can't proceed forward the way we want to. But a lot of times those challenges are these amazing opportunities to make us think outside the box or do something we wouldn't normally do that actually becomes this opportunity to make us better at that thing we wanted to do.
Absolutely. So last year, I know our marathoners, they had their trials, so the team was set. Are you already on the team where your trials, did they already take place?
No, our trials were going to be in June. So they were postponed till this June. So June 6th through the 13th in Indianapolis.
Will we go to Tokyo in July? Is that the goal?
Yeah, I think opening ceremonies are July 23rd. I would compete like August 5th and 6th, I think. So, yeah, and it's always been close. Like we're used to it being so close. That's kind of how our sport has always operated.
So does it look like it's going to happen? I really haven't been paying close attention.
The trials?
Well, and the games, the actual games.
It is. They've announced no spectators from abroad. So that was kind of a hard blow that like, even if I make it, my kids can't come. And, that's been a real motivation for me is to have my kids watch me in the Olympic Games. And so that was a little bit of a crushing blow, but, what do you do? It's out of my hands. It's not something that I can control. So we're, thinking of ways to do watch parties or something and make it fun for them here with their friends and in their environment. And, we'll make the best of it. So it will go on. It's just going to look a little bit different.
All right. And who's your stiffest competition?
Internationally, it's China. China's been very dominant, especially in my event for a long time, but they're very dominant in our sport in general. So it's kind of, it hasn't really changed much. There's some strong Canadians, there's some strong Australians, there's a handful of people, but it's definitely an open field, which makes it exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you have this opportunity to break a record as the oldest American, which is still funny because you're still so young. So
I didn't know that was a record I could break.
The senior statesman of the Olympic Games. So what does that mean to you, or does it mean anything to you?
I honestly didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I remember Dara's comeback and I saw that and it was amazing. And I read her book, Age is Just a Number, and loved it. And learned a lot from that. But yeah, that's not necessarily a record I'm going for. I'm doing it for different reasons, I suppose, than to just be the oldest person to do it.
Yeah, that's and I thought we had some of what's the shooting, you know what I'm talking about, the relay and they run and they shoot. I thought we had a
Biathlon?
maybe. Maybe. I'm a little foggy today, but yeah, there's another event. I remember some cowgirl out with her gun saying she was the oldest of some sort.
Well, I know there's been some shooters, just the shooting events. I think Kim Rhodes has medaled like 5 times or something insane. I don't know how old she is though.
Yeah, maybe she was the oldest competitor and she didn't medal, but you're going as the medalist. So are you go in there locked on gold? This is your intention.
Well, of course. I mean, I feel like if you're not going for gold, why are you going? If you're not going for that, I mean, that's always my goal. But it gets more, I guess, kind of personal than that. Like I have my goals of like what I want to do on each dive and how I want to, execute things. And so it's a lot bigger than that. There's a lot more reasons. Like, yes, I have that goal, but there's a lot of other things that go into play. Like I've been really open and honest on my journey, and I want to invite people along and realize that, because I had a problem when I became a mom. I kind of thought, all right, my time is done. And now I'm just here for my kids. And I didn't realize that you can actually do these great things with kids and take your kids along your journey, and that they're going to learn and grow up to realize that, the world is their oyster and they can do whatever they put their mind to. And so I want to show people that like, it's not always a pretty journey. Like there's a lot of ups and downs. You've got to fail to succeed, and your kids can watch you and be part of this journey with you. And so I think for me, that's almost a bigger part of my passion, at least for this. But yeah, I have the big goals of like, I want to do my dives this way. I want to stand on top of the podium. That's always there for sure.
So 2 things. Do you feel like you're there now physically, and are you performing? Like if you perform today, do you think you might be able to take home gold?
Well, I've only gotten to be back on the platform a handful of times. Like I just competed in a meet in Georgia last weekend, and it was the second time I had done my dives. And I mean, it went surprisingly well for the limited amount I've done, but I was very confident. So I think with just a little bit more time, I feel really good. I feel surprisingly really good where we're at right now. So, which is exciting.
That was very exciting. And then how many Wheaties boxes do you have at home? Much on them.
Well, I think my mom bought out a few grocery stores, so we still have to. But yeah, I think there's one here. There's one sitting right up there. Can you see it? A couple of them up there.
Can you pull it down? Can you reach it?
Yeah, let me go grab it.
Yeah, you want to see that box.
Oh, there we go. It's a little dusty, but there we go.
Wow, an action shot.
Yeah, there we go.
Was that taken during one of your Olympic dives, or did you have a photo shoot for that?
No, I think our local paper had actually taken this one, and like the rights were all weird with the Olympic Committee and stuff, so they had to take one from the local paper. Yeah, and then there's the back. The back's kind of fun too.
Oh, you got your face. How old were you there?
Oh, I was 22. Yeah, 22. Just a baby.
Yes, baby. Is there still cereal in the box?
Yeah, we're not going to open it.
It's not like wine. It doesn't.
I don't think so. If it's still good, I'm a little scared what's in the cereal.
Yeah, I feel like Wheaties might still be good 20 years later.
Possibly. We'll not attempt it and find out.
Okay. And then last time you were at the Olympic Games, we didn't have this kind of full access with social media, live streaming, and so forth. Do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a hard toss-up. Like, I don't know what it's going to look like. There's a lot of things I don't know. And I know the USOC the Olympic Committee has some restrictions on maybe what you can post from the venues. And I don't know all the rules. I'll have to look into that. But there's a point where you also need to put your phone down and not be distracted by that. So I'm sure it'll just depend on the timing. So I don't really know what that's going to look like, to be honest with you. Because when I was in Rio, I was there with NBC. And so I was reporting on a daily basis on all my social media. So it'll be a very different look this time.
No, it's super exciting though. It's a great access. I mean, the normal people were like, what is it like to be inside the Olympic Village or to be warming up? All right, we have another good question from Mr. Rob Bailey. I imagine that all you've overcome from your foot in 2000, your neck and COVID, I bet your children have a real front row seat to perseverance. Yeah, do you talk about that with them?
Yeah, we do. I mean, sometimes I bring up my own stuff, but like my son especially, he gets frustrated really easily. If something's not perfect on the first try, he loses it. And so we've had a lot of conversations on, hey, look, when mommy is learning this, like I fail, like I mess up all the time. And that's why I practice so hard. That's why I do all this. And so we do have to hammer those points home. They see me doing my plyometrics every single day or, several times a week. So they see me doing these things all the time because they know it takes a long time to build up to that point where you're actually like really good at it. So we do hammer those lessons home a lot. And we do use diving because they know that that's what I'm really into right now. So it's weird. Sometimes I don't want to, like, I don't know. I have a weird, because I just don't like talking to myself about them,
right?
Talking to them about myself a lot. I feel weird. But it's a good analogy. It's a good example for them.
Yeah, I use personal experience with my kids, and boy, do I think they think I'm the biggest nerd, and nothing I've accomplished is of interest at all.
Right.
Okay.
My gold medals, they like my gold medals and judge them based on how shiny they are. And this was really humbling too. Last year, right before the shutdown, I got third place. I did terrible at this meeting. I got third place. And the cutest part was my kids, I didn't know they were doing the awards. And so I heard them announce my name. So I ran across the pool to jump up on the award stand. I didn't know all my kids were running behind me. So they all ran up with me and jumped on the award stand, which was so cute. And they were just beaming the whole time. But then we got down and my son looked at my medal and he goes, "Why isn't this gold?" And so I had to really and I was already really frustrated with how I performed. And so I had to bite my tongue and really be like, okay, I'm really going to have to put my money where my mouth is right now. I was like, buddy, sometimes things just don't go the way we want, but we still have to hold our chins high. We have to applaud the people who win, and we have to learn lessons from this. And how can we change moving forward to do better next time? And so that was a really hard thing to have to tell him because I just wanted to complain. So yeah, it's been quite the process.
And then do they dive or swim?
My oldest one dove for about 2 years and she really enjoyed it, but she has moved on to acting now. So I think she just has a different set of gifts.
Okay. And the others, do they participate in sports in general?
Yeah, I have 3 of them do Ninja Warrior and one does soccer. And so it's really just kind of fun for us right now. One of mine she says she is not an athlete. She just wants to be an artist. And I think that's probably very true. Although she could be a really fast runner. She loves to run. My son, I don't know. I think he could be good at anything he wanted, but right now he's just into ninja. So that's where we'll stay. And my littlest one is into soccer, but she will also stop mid-play to pick a flower and come bring it to me. So I'm not sure how dedicated we are at this point.
As long as they're playing, right? Those are my rules for my kid. You have to be in one club and you just have to play a sport. I don't care what it is, but you have to be something. You're free to be lousy at it. You just have to do something. And I like them to lose. I signed them up for a soccer team because I thought I want them to experience loss and be good losers. And then there was a couple of Kenyans on their team and they beat everybody 11-0. And I was like, no, can we get good kids off the team because I really needed them to practice losing. So it didn't work out in my favor.
That's so funny.
We have one of America's heroes, Cliff Walker, retired military, reaching out. Yes, she is awesome, Cliff. He's such a good egg. He'll be rooting for you for certain. So you've got a few months into the Olympic Games. When does the stress kick in?
It's already there sometimes a little bit okay, I only have so many more weeks. I'm planning out my next plyo course to when I start tapering. I'm like, oh, there's only so many weeks left, which only means so many days on 10-meter left. And so that sometimes kind of makes you okay, you kind of feel it, but I love that because that means it's still important to you. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I wish I didn't get nervous. I wish I was fearless like you. And I'm like, no. I totally get nervous. I get freaked out. And I think that's a good thing because it means it matters to you. I've been in meets where I wasn't nervous and I was very concerned because I was like, obviously I'm not all here and I'm not caring enough. And so I think nerves are good. You just have to learn to keep them at the right level so that they don't, take you out and interfere with what you're doing. But a little bit is a really good thing.
And how do you manage those nerves at a meet, at a competition?
I love to listen to music and I know myself really well to if I need to bring myself down a little bit, or if I need to listen to something really poppy, or if I need to listen to something more passionate, with words with meaning or something like that. So I really know myself that way. And music helps me sometimes direct the mood and get there faster. but just also talking to myself and walking through things and praying and just kind of, okay, where am I at? What am I nervous about? What's going on? What's coming up? And not ignoring it. Cause I think a lot of times when we ignore it, we're trying to like push it away. And by doing that, we're actually interacting with it and keeping it nearby. Whereas if you think about it and you process it, you can actually let it go and it won't bother you as much. But that's really hard to do. It's really hard for people to confront that. But I've gotten really good at that. So I think that's a big help.
Did you work with a sports psychologist or just work on yourself?
That I learned a long time ago, I think just by accident, just by walking through it. I mean, I had an amazing coach, Kenny Armstrong. He's coached me since the very beginning. And he's taught me a lot of things. And through that process, I kind of figured some of those things out. And I have talked to some sports psychologists, I think there were like around 2004, we had one. But I mean, there are some great tools, but the best sports psychologists that I talked to were really great listeners that really kind of taught you how to think and process it on your own. And that's kind of what I've been good at.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I think you have to have nerves of steel. It's not a lack of fear. It's the ability to control them.
Mm-hmm. And direct them. Yeah. Maybe not control so much as like guide them, if that makes sense. Like some people say, oh, don't be emotional, but I think emotions are very powerful. You just need to know how to guide and direct them into the right place.
You could teach a class on that post because it's not just the Olympic Games and gold and it's 30 something feet up in the air and worldwide television. And that's
exactly.
And you're doing it all in a swimsuit.
Yes, I know. We try not to think about that in the middle of the
yeah, well, you're super fit, so no worries. But that is a lot to manage. A lot lesser people would shrivel up and run away as soon as they arrived at the arena. All right, Victoria. And so Victoria is very brave too. She's undergoing breast cancer treatment right now, and she's crushing it. She's still out running every day and working out. Wow. She's so excited the Olympics are happening this year. Finally, something that will be normal for us. Always my favorite thing to watch.
Awesome. Well, kudos to you, Victoria. That's amazing. That's honestly amazing. Fitz, I want to know will you tell me a little bit about your journey? Because I know you said before you started recording that you had been through breast cancer also.
Yeah, I will briefly. So clean mammogram, December 2018, less than 7 weeks later, I found a lump. I was just at a hotel bathroom at a race weekend and I found it. And most important thing I've ever done is pick up the phone immediately and make that phone call. And so went to the doctor's appointment, which led to the mammogram, quick ultrasound. They saw it. And they said, yeah, we see that tumor looks a little disconcerting, but you also have a few hard swollen lymph nodes. And then I thought, oh God, there it is. And so I went on for 15 months and did 15 months of chemo and 33 rounds of radiation and a lumpectomy and wow. Cancer-free now. It wasn't a whole heck of a lot of fun, but like you, I made those choices in my life. So I never missed a day of work and I never missed a special opportunity with my kids. And, I think what a great gift to have things in my life that I'm so passionate about that even, the most toxic combination of chemo they give to someone couldn't keep me away from, middle school graduation or the Big Sur Marathon. I just, I find so much joy in what I do, like you, that, with your cervical fusion, you're like, oh, that's all right. I'm doing that again. So with your neck, do you worry about re-injuring your neck with a dive? Is that a risk?
I mean, he said the part that's fused, I don't have to worry about. That part is just rock solid, which makes me feel good. But they said the joints above and below it, those vertebrae will take more of the impact now. But I mean, the nature of what I do, that's kind of always been a risk. So I'm sure once I'm done, I'll get another MRI to check it out, make sure everything's okay. But I feel good right now. So I'm just trying to proceed forward with a positive attitude and not worrying about the stuff that may or may not be a problem.
Right. Plus you're so strong. I don't think I know having strong, having a good protective casing around those bones goes a heck of a long way. All right. So we're going to go lightning round. Some questions just to get to know you. What's your favorite song?
This is really hard.
Last question of the day.
You're going to laugh. Right now, it's Pizza by some DJ. My daughter put it on a playlist, and I'm obsessed with it. It sounds like a movie soundtrack. I love it.
Pizza. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check that out. And who's your favorite singer?
Oh, gosh, these are hard.
Well,
I don't know that I have one. Oh, I mean, I love classic rock like Van Halen and Aerosmith. We'll go with that.
That's a great answer.
Eddie. Yeah, I'm old school.
I love it. Favorite dessert?
Oh, anything chocolate.
Favorite place to vacation?
A beach somewhere.
Okay, so back to Florida.
There you go. I'll come back.
Laura was just in Florida a couple of weeks ago, and she got to experience the ecstasy that is our weather. And then, what does it mean for you to represent your country? What's it like to be on that podium when they're playing the anthem?
It's surreal. I mean, that's everything I dreamed about since I was a little girl. I've always been a very proud American and a very proud Texan too. But that moment, and it's so funny because when I got on the award stand, somebody had handed me a flag, and I was so proud to have that flag in the award stand. I just put it up in front of my face, and I just held it there. And I was like, oh, I should probably, but I was so proud of that, of representing the United States and watching the flag go up while the anthem plays. I mean, that is probably, that is just the coolest thing ever. And I always wondered, like, would I sing along? Would I not? And I was so busy trying to like look for my parents in the stand, like where they had all moved to, that I didn't know where in the song they were. So I just stood there and kind of started tearing up. And it was just, but as soon as it started, it was over. And it was like all that time, all that heartache, all that hard work, and it's over like that, So again, as special as those moments are, it's that journey that gets you there. That's where the memories really are that you take with you.
Yeah, spectacular. And I too find that national anthem to be one of the most special songs in the world. The fact that we played it for you, you were the reason the whole world got to hear the national anthem of America. That's something you could hang your hat on for the rest of your life. And I hope you get to hear it again this summer.
Well, it's funny now when I hear it, it's different now. There's a difference. Once you hear it played when you've won in an arena like that, it's just not the same. Like emotions come flooding up immediately every time. It takes you right back there.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And you know what? Our country has such a long history of wonderful things. And I do always revert back to our soldiers at Normandy and, all across the world being freedom fighters. But then we have these elite athletes representing us so well, and it really is special. So congratulations.
Thank you. But we wouldn't even be able to do that without those freedom fighters, like you said. I mean, I think that's why it's such a beautiful thing, is it takes everyone to keep that dream and that vision in our country alive, especially.
Yeah, there's a good reason there's many reasons to be proud. Now, my final question, unless you have anything else to add, do you have the Olympic rings tattooed somewhere on your body?
I don't, which is really funny because I have other tattoos, but I've never done the rings. I've thought about it, but I've never gotten them on there yet. I've got my ring on though. I do have an Olympic ring.
Wowee, that's nice.
I wear that, but yeah, maybe eventually I will. But so far not yet.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, I am anti-tattoo unless I was an Olympian, then I would consider doing the rings. Interesting, but I love your ring.
Thank you.
Well done. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure, Laura. Thank you so much for your time today. Is there anywhere people can find you?
My website's laurawilkinson.com. All my socials are on there. I'm big into Instagram. I love Instagram right now. But I also have a podcast that I just started last year during the whole COVID shutdown called The Pursuit of Gold. And I interview athletes and sports experts and coaches all the time. And it's been really encouraging for me, to hear other athletes' stories. And it's been kind of giving me fire to keep going. And it's been really fun to do that. So, and I love this whole podcasting world. So it's fun to be on yours. And thanks for having me today.
Oh, of course. So laurawilkinson.com. You can go there and find everything you need to about Laura, her podcast, her social media. And in August, I expect we will all be glued to our televisions rooting for you.
Definitely. And don't forget trials in June.
And the trials. That's right. We will root for the trials as well. So thank you, Laura. And for the rest of you, don't forget to follow me at fitzness.com. Reach out. We have a lot more interesting and exciting guests coming on in the near future. And get to work, everybody. Bye.
Bye.